Today, we've got a really fascinating story. It's about a startup called Imperium Technologies, and they're trying to solve a huge invisible problem. But you know what? Their biggest fight isn't with physics or engineering. It's with finance. It's about convincing the money people that not all revenue is created equal. This is the story of the $100 billion leak.
So let's start with this number, $100 billion. Let that sink in for a second. That's not a company's stock market value. It's not the size of some industry. Nope. That is the estimated amount of money lost every single year to wasted energy from industrial steam systems. It's a colossal problem that's basically hiding in plain sight.
And that really gets to the heart of the mystery, right? How is that even possible? Well, according to the Department of Energy, something like 20% of all the steam that leaves a typical boiler plant, it just gets lost. It literally vanishes into thin air through thousands of tiny leaks before it ever does any actual work. Just gone.
And it turns out the culprits are these millions of little, simple devices called steam traps. Now, their only job is to be a gatekeeper for steam pipes. But here's the thing. They fail all the time. A lot of them fail in the open position, which turns them into a non-stop 24/7 leak of super valuable high-energy steam.
Okay, so for a company like Imperium, you'd think, great, just build a better steam trap, right? Well, it is not that simple. The real fight for them is a financial one. They have to prove to investors that they're a high-growth tech company, not just another company making and selling hardware. And this brings us to the core of their struggle.
So this is a really important idea to get your head around, the valuation chasm. Think of it like this. On one side, you've got companies that sell physical things. They get valued based on their profits right now, usually at a pretty low multiple of what they make. But on the other side, you've got software companies. They get valued on their future growth, often at a ridiculously high premium. It's two different worlds.
And check this out. This chart just lays it all out perfectly. These are two real acquisitions. Chromalox, they make industrial hardware. They were bought for about 2 times what they earned in a year. But Plex Systems, an industrial software company, was snapped up for around 13 times its revenue. That is a 600% premium, just for selling code instead of metal. It's a no-brainer which one you'd rather be.
This is exactly why investors are so laser-focused on this. This quote, it's from an actual investor report on Imperium. It basically says, yeah, we'll give you the money, but only if you can prove you're on track B, which is code for becoming a software-as-a-service company. See, they're not just betting on a better device. They're betting on a whole new business model.
And here's a perfect example of why they're so worried. This is a cautionary tale. Latch was a smart lock company that fell right into what we can call the hardware trap. Too much of their money came from selling low-margin hardware, and Wall Street just hammered their valuation. For Imperium, avoiding this exact fate is everything.
So how is Imperium going to leap across that chasm? Well, this is where their secret weapon comes in, the IntelliTrap. This is their core innovation, and it's designed to do something totally new. It doesn't just monitor the problem, it actively controls it. It basically creates a whole new category in the market.
Now, this slide really shows the genius of the idea. The old way, what all the competitors do, is totally passive. A sensor beeps and tells you, hey, you have a problem. Then you got to send a person out to fix it, while energy just keeps leaking away. But Imperium's way is active. The device knows it has a problem, and it solves it itself, right there, on the spot, automatically.
And this is their moat, their big advantage, and it's all wrapped up in a patent. It's a simple, closed-loop system inside the device itself. 1, it detects there's a failure. 2, a little brain inside analyzes the data. And 3, this is the magic part, it actuates a valve to stop the leak. It literally fixes itself.
And get this, the return on investment here is just bonkers. A single failed steam trap can bleed over $6,600 a year in wasted energy. That means Imperium's IntelliTrap pays for itself in under 4 months. I mean, if you're a factory manager, that's a decision that basically makes itself.
But look, having amazing tech and a killer ROI, that's not always enough. Imperium is walking into a huge fight. They have to break into a market that is dominated by these ancient legacy giants who have been around forever and whose entire business model is built on the exact opposite of what Imperium is selling.
This chart tells the whole story. You've got the old guard, the incumbents, whose products just fail. That's what they do. Then you have these newer IoT companies who basically just stick a sensor on the old guy's product to tell you when it fails. But Imperium, they're in what the research calls a category of one. They're the only ones who can both monitor and control. They actually solve the problem. And this right here, this is the heart of the conflict. The entire business model for the big guys like Spirax Sarco and Armstrong relies on their parts breaking every few years. That's their cash cow, selling replacements. A product like Imperium's that's built to last for a decade, that is a direct threat to their entire way of life.
So let's just zoom out for a minute, because this isn't just about one smart gadget. What Imperium is doing plugs directly into two of the biggest global trends on the planet right now: the digitalization of industry and this massive trillion-dollar push for decarbonization.
And these aren't just vague ideas. These trends have real teeth. You've got new regulations, like in California, where this kind of automated monitoring is now the law. You've got huge companies with these massive net zero pledges who are desperate to cut emissions, and a single one of these failed traps can spew 28 metric tons of CO2 a year. And on top of all that, you have this whole shift to smart factories that need exactly this kind of data. These forces are turning Imperium's device from a nice-to-have into a must-have.
And that kind of leaves us with this final big picture thought. What if this is about way more than just steam traps? What if we're witnessing a fundamental shift away from a disposable, mechanical world to a durable, intelligent one? A future that's built not on making better replacement parts, but on making things that don't need to be replaced in the first place. That's the multi-billion-dollar question that Imperium is forcing an entire industry to answer.